good day to you all. In our last class, we spoke about attitudes. We tried to find out what are attitudes. Now, has someone deliberately tried to change your attitude?
My clothing.
Okay.
Because most of the times that I've worn blue, people have complimented me. So I have lots of blue dresses now.
Okay. So you changed your attitude towards clothes and now you're buying lot of clothes that have the color blue in them. Very good. Yes, Priscilla?
When we were kids, ma'am, our table manners were probably not that good. But over a constant period of monitoring, we changed it.
Yeah. Okay. Why did you change? Why did you change your table manners? Why did you change the way you sat and ate your food?
Because our mothers and fathers said it was bad.
Very good, because mommies and daddies told us, and mummies and daddies play a very, very important role in our lives. They are our main agents of socialization. They teach us how to behave in society, what are the customs of society, what do I need to do to live in a society, how should I behave in a family. So parents have taught us lot of things, and that's how we have acquired lot of attitudes, lot of thinking patterns of our parents. So when somebody is deliberately trying to attempt to change your behavior, to change your cognition, to change your emotional aspect of the attitude, this process is known as persuasion. So today we are going to learn more about persuasion. What is persuasion? In simple words, persuasion means attitude changes. Efforts that I put in to change my attitudes through information, through arguments, through discussions, I change my attitudes. So once again, attitude change or persuasion is a deliberate attempt to change attitudes or beliefs with information and arguments. Success or failure of persuasion can be understood if we consider the communicator, the message, and the audience. When I am talking to you, I am the one who's giving you some information. So I become the communicator, you become the audience, and my talking to you, my verbal message becomes a medium, a message. I'm talking to you face to face. So anytime anybody is communicating to you, the process of communication is made up of the source, the communicator, the target, the audience, and the message. I use verbal way of talking one-to-one to you. I'm talking to you verbally today. I'm also showing you some tapes. I'm also showing you some PowerPoint presentations. So I'm using the audio way and the visual way to send my message across to you. Now, the first person who studied attitude change is Hovland, Janice, and Kelly in the year 1953. Who says what, to whom, and with what effect was studied by Hovland, Janice, and Kelly. So what did Hovland, Janice, and Kelly study as early as 1953?
Who says what to whom? They studied the effect of art on
Very
this.
good. And with what effect was studied as early as 1953. And according to them, what is very important in a learning process? Who are the important people in a learning process?
The communicator, the target, and the medium through which it is communicated.
Excellent. The communicator, the target, the audience, and the medium is very, very important. Now, you have to make a presentation in college. And if you want to have a very effective presentation, whom will you choose to come and give a very good presentation? Will you ask your younger sister? Will you ask your mother? Will you ask your father? Will you ask your neighbor? Or whom will you bring for a very good presentation in your college regarding a particular topic?
Ma'am, maybe a person who is an expert in whatever topic you're dealing with.
If my issue, my topic is on leadership, I have to bring an expert in that field to give you a talk on leadership. And who would you suggest to give a very good talk on leadership?
Dr. Abdul Kalam.
Maybe Kiran Bedi.
Very good. Now, what are we talking here? We are now going to talk about the characteristics of the source. We started saying that in a communication process, the source, the communicator, plays a very important role in giving you the message. Now, if I really want to make a change in your attitude, if I really want to be very effective in changing your attitude, I have to consider the source. I have to consider certain characteristics of the source. And your first example by bringing in Abdul Kalam is one of the most beautiful examples which try to tell us that the more trustworthy a person is, the more the people in the audience will change their attitude. Another important characteristic is the person has to be an expert. Very good. I would talk about another important characteristic like likability. I must like the person who is talking to me. When I like the person who is talking to me, there are chances that I am going to change my attitude. I'm going to listen and change my attitude, change my opinion. So also, let's look at the slide, and there you find the message source. If at all Aishwarya Rai comes to your college and speaks, how many of you will actually pay attention to her? Yeah, why do you think you want to listen to Aishwarya Rai?
Maybe because she's achieved so much in life.
She has achieved so much, she's very attractive. People who are physically attractive, guys who are very, very handsome, those handsome hunks that you want to listen to, play a very important role in changing your attitude, in changing your opinions. So physical attractiveness is another important characteristic. Which was the first important characteristic?
Trustworthiness.
Trustworthiness, very good, because I trust this person is very credible. So from trustworthiness, I jump on to credibility of a person, and then we spoke about
Likability.
very good, I must like the person. So persons who are liked, who come and talk and give a presentation, have a greater chances of changing the opinion of the audience. And then we went on to another characteristic. What was the next characteristic, Trisha?
The person has to be likable, he has to be attractive.
Very good. Not only attractive, all-round attractiveness, even physical attractiveness is a very important characteristic of a source, of a communicator, and it is necessary to dress up well, to talk well, because the more attractive you are, the more ways of speaking attractively you possess, the more you're able to convince your audience. And one of the last important factor I'm going to talk about today is name recognition. Let's look at the slide again. When Abdul Kalam spoke about an important message about education of the youth in India, many people felt inspired to go ahead. In 1993, when Magic Johnson spoke to the world, spoke to America all about we have to be willing to help AIDS victims. And so he realized that after a period of some time, they did a study and they found that many more people came forward to help people who were suffering from AIDS. So when big, important, popular people speak on a particular issue, the chances of the audience, the chances of the people changing their attitude increases significantly. So someone, can you round up what are the important characteristics of the communicator, important characteristics of the source?
The characteristics of a source are likability, expertise, physical attractiveness, credibility, name recognition.
Excellent, excellent. So once again, I go back I am communicating, I am talking, I am giving you a message, I'm deliberately changing, I'm changing your attitude, I'm changing your knowledge now, I'm changing your information now, I'm trying to give you new information, and your change can be positive, your change could be negative. It could be favorable, it could be unfavorable. When I watch an advertisement, I look at it, and all 9 of you may look at the same advertisement and they find that some of them like the advertisement, some of them don't like. So that is not the point, but have I succeeded in changing their attitude towards a product is what we need to think about. Now, we go on to the next, the target of the message. Who is the target of the message now?
The audience.
The audience. Now we are going on to a new thinking in psychology, in social psychology, known as the central versus peripheral route of processing. The audience plays a very important role. Yes. Some of the characteristics of the audience are the personality characteristics of the audience, whether the audience are actually interested in what we are talking about. Sex plays an important role in changing the attitudes of an audience. They have found that women are more persuaded easily than men. People with low self-esteem are more easily persuaded than people with higher self-esteem. They've also found that people with high intelligence as well as low intelligence have different ways of perceiving the information that is coming to them. So could someone just tell me some of the characteristics of the audience? Some of the characteristics that play a very important role in changing an attitude?
Listening, their gender.
Yes. Self-esteem, intelligence. Very good, very good. Now, I am listening to so much of information. When I'm listening, I am taking in. When I'm taking in information, I call it as processing information. I take in, I absorb, I evaluate, I analyze information. There are 2 ways of doing it. And I've already told you that the first way is the central way and the second way is the peripheral way. The central way is also known as systematic processing. The central route is also known as systematic processing. When I sit and actually consider every bit of information that is coming to me, I think about it. I'm very rational. I carefully consider the message content. I am using a method called a central route or a systematic processing. I'm listening to the message, I'm analyzing the message, I'm evaluating the message, I'm thinking of all the pros and cons of the message. I am using a route known as central route, or it is also known as systematic processing route. But when I'm making sudden decisions, I just buy the product because I saw a very attractive figure saying, please buy the product. When I'm not actually considering the pros and cons, I am using the peripheral or the heuristic processing approach. Peripheral route or the heuristic processing approach. I consider only the surface cues or use mental shortcuts. Oh, he is an expert, so I listen to him blindly. Or I just feel it, I have to buy this product. And I just go and buy it because I just felt like buying it. I'm not really analyzing every bit of information. I bought something just because someone flattered me. I just bought it. I'm wearing something because someone said I look nice. So when I'm just using mental shortcuts, when I'm using some common rules of the thumb, I'm using heuristic processing approach. Could you tell me what is systematic processing?
It's by, if you have to take a decision, you analyze everything about it.
You carefully consider all the facts while buying the washing machine. I just don't go and say, I like it, and that's because there you are seeing Katrina Kaif saying, buy this washing machine. I'm not buying just because Katrina Kaif is telling me. I'm buying it because I compare the different washing machines. I'm using central method, central route of persuasion. What is the other route we have spoken about today?
Peripheral route. That
Yes.
is, we make sudden or snap decisions.
Excellent.
Depending upon whatever affects us.
Yes.
It may just be buying a pair of shoes just because on a whim, maybe,
Yes.
because we think we need it.
Very good.
We do not analyze our pocket, or we do not analyze other things.
Very good.
Perhaps later on we may find that it's uncomfortable, but
Very
we still
good.
buy it at that time.
Yes, you say you love it and you buy it. So let's look at the PowerPoint presentation. You are having the persuasive message. The message is there, and there is the audience. My audience is a very motivated one, and they're able to understand. They have lot of time, and they can think well, and they really want to sit and carefully consider the pros and cons. Then it is at that time I use the central route, and it is at that time I receive and I elaborate on the message, and if I accept that message, it will remain for a longer period of time. But when I don't have time, when I'm not very motivated, there are so many distractions, I don't have time to actually process the information, time is short, motivation level is low, I'm feeling very irrelevant, or there are a lot of irrelevant things I need to consider. I'm unwilling, I'm unable to understand. It is at that time I use heuristic processing or peripheral route, and there are times I get easily persuaded by the messages, but there may not be a long-term change in my attitude. So we are now still talking about the characteristics of the audience, and now we try to find out how does the audience process information. I process information in basically two ways, but when do I use it? I need to consider the model, but in general, most of the time we are trying to use both the models, and we are making snap decisions many a times throughout the day. On an average, there are about 10,000 messages that are coming to you day in and day out in a single day. You're talking to your friend, she's trying to tell you something. You're talking to your mother, you're listening to your teacher, you are walking on the street, then you go home and sit in front of the TV. The advertisers are spending billions of rupees to see that you change your attitude and buy their products. The politicians are talking so much for you to come and join their party or elect them. Salespeople are coming and asking you, buy their products, buy their products. So you find time and again, people around us through our interactions are trying to influence our attitudes, and attitudes will affect our behavior. Now you have the picture, boost is the secret of my energy. And you also have thumbs up, taste the thunder. Now, what method are we using here now? Are we using heuristic or central to sell my product of Boost and Coca-Cola?
Peripheral.
Why, Alice, do you say peripheral?
Because maybe more than the product, we look at the person
Very
who's in
good.
the ad, and
Very
we're
good.
motivated to buy seeing the person, not the product.
Excellent. So I'm not analyzing the message. I'm just looking at the source. I'm making snap decisions. And so when I say Boost is the secret of my energy, and my little son runs and buys Boost every time when I go to the supermarket, he's using heuristic processing model. And when once again we have an argument, I will say, let's have fresh juice. Fresh juice is very good for your body. My little son says, no mama, I love Amir Khan, and that is why I want to buy only Coca-Cola and not Thumbs Up. So there are times when we children or we parents have an argument with the kids depending upon whom they like and whom I like, what is good for them and what is bad for them. And ultimately, we are using different methods of processing the information around us. Now, what about the message itself? What are the characteristics of the message? That's very important that I repeat the message. It's very important that I repeat the message. The second important characteristic of the message is it should evoke some amount of fear. It should evoke some amount of emotion in you. And then I know that my message is going to be effective. My message should be clear, concise. And if I'm evoking lot of fear, then I should also give you a consistent plan, a strategy, how to handle that particular issue. For example, let's look at the picture and you will find a dirty set of teeth and teeth that are white, clear, bright and shining. If I want to teach my kid to brush her teeth, which picture will appeal to her?
The picture with the set of dirty teeth
Yes.
make you want to brush it more.
Why, Priscilla, do you think you need to brush your teeth when you look at that picture?
To avoid having such teeth.
Very good, to avoid. It evokes a kind of a mild fear, and there are researches going on whether mild fear is better or extreme fear is better. But they found if it is too much of extreme fear, then I just deny the fact. I will not think about it. I will ignore the message. But it is found that children who want to take drugs are on that dividing line, should or shouldn't I take drugs? If at all they are taken to a rehab center and they see other patients who are having withdrawal symptoms, there are chances that many children change their attitude towards taking drugs, because they can see the effect of taking drugs. This is what happens to people, and it's not a nice sight to see a patient suffering from withdrawal symptoms. So, fear sometimes plays a very important role in changing your attitude. Even introducing a little bit of anxiety plays a very important role in changing your attitude. And remember, I have to repeat my messages, and messages should be simple, clear, concise. And depending upon the audience, if my audience is well informed, I have to present two-sided arguments. But if at all I have an audience that is not very motivated, it is okay if I have only one-sided argument.
What is one-sided and two-sided arguments?
When I say one-sided, I'm only talking about one side of the argument. Either it's only the favorable part of it or the unfavorable part of it. When I'm taking my kid to the ward where there are patients who are suffering from withdrawal symptoms, I'm showing only one side of the argument to not take drugs. But when I talk about two-sided, I talk about the favorable side and the unfavorable side. I talk about the positive side and the negative side. I talk about the pros and cons, and I ask the audience to consider and make a judgment, to make a change in their opinion. So that is one-sided and two-sided. So one-sided and two-sided also play a very important role in a message that I'm giving you or conveying it to the audience. Who could just sum up?
The characteristics of the message, it should be repeated time and again, and then it should evoke some amount of fear or emotion. It should be clear, simple and concise. And if it evokes lots of fear, then a particular plan should be given to handle such situation.
Yes.
And then it again depends upon the audience. That's that one-sided arguments and the two-sided arguments.
Very good, very good. And now last part of my communication process, last part of my persuasion process, I come to the medium. What are the different types of medium I pass on the message?
Through mass media,
Very good.
like television,
Yes,
radio,
yes,
magazines,
yes,
newspapers.
Yes. Yes, Alice?
Direct communication,
Very good.
like direct face-to-face contact.
Very good. Face-to-face contact is more effective than mass media. If I tell you something over the TV, There are chances that you were distracted, you didn't listen, even if the source was there, it may not be so effective than Mr. Abdul Kalam coming here and talking to you personally and asking you to go further and study further and make India proud is more effective than talking on the TV. Yes, TV does have an important role to play, magazines do have an important role to play, but the best way of changing somebody's opinion, somebody's information about themselves and other things, other issues, is the face-to-face contact one could have. To conclude, early research on persuasion focused primarily on characteristics on the communicator, message and audience. More recent research has sought to understand the cognitive processes that play a role in persuasion. Such research suggests that we process persuasive messages in two distinct ways through systematic processing or heuristic processing.